Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education, featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates. And now, here's your host, Alexis Avila.
Hi everyone, this is Alexis Avila of Prepped and Polished, a tutoring and test prep firm that provides in-person and online tutoring for the SAT, ACT, grad and private school tests, and academic subject tutoring such as math, science, English, language, and study skills coaching. For more information, please check out preppedandpolished.com, and while you're there, sign up for our monthly newsletter. Our tutoring tips series continues right now with episode 63, our grammar tips episode, Who or Whom Am I Talking To? And get to know the Prepped and Polished community. You can find us on Facebook at Prepped and Polished, as well as on Twitter at Prepped Polished, and Instagram Prepped and Polished 1. Remember, if you have any questions or comments about the episode, feel free to email us at any time, radio@Prepped and Polished. We love hearing from you. Let's get right to it. Who versus whom is a grammar problem that trips up even the most seasoned English teachers. When do you use which word? Should you always use whom because it sounds better? Don't worry. You can tackle this grammarian nightmare with a few simple tricks. Okay, so both who and whom are pronouns used to describe an individual. But who is used when that individual is the subject of the sentence. Whom is used when that individual is the object of the sentence. That's the main difference. So here's a verbal trick to make sure you have the right usage. He or he corresponds with who, and him corresponds with whom. So what you want to do is 3 steps. 1, you start with your sentence. 2, you try plugging in he or him into the sentence, see which one makes sense, and then check the sentence. So let's start with your sentence. Let's say the sentence was, I wasn't sure who would be bringing over the book. So now we're going to substitute he and him in for who, and whatever makes the most sense wins. So he is bringing the book over. Him is bringing the book over. Nope, that's wrong. It's he is bringing the book over. Sounds great. And remember, he corresponds with who. Since the answering sentence begins with he, you know you should use who. So just to reiterate, the sentence is, I wasn't sure who would be bringing the book over. That's correct because you can substitute who for he, which corresponds with each other, and it makes sense as well. I wasn't sure he would be bringing the book over. Here's another sentence. Okay, so let's say another sentence says, whom do you love? Try plugging in he and him to answer your sentence. So, whom do you love? Would you say I love him or I love he? You say I love him. Therefore, him corresponds with whom I said earlier. So, since the answering sentence ends with him, you know you should use whom. So whom do you love is correct. Because, just to reiterate, you can answer that question using I love him. And remember, whom and him correspond with one another. And just to reiterate, who and he correspond with one another. So use this grammar trick up your sleeve and you'll never get confused by these 2 words again. So this wraps up our show with episode 63, Who or Whom Am I Talking To? Join us for our next episode, number 64, an interview podcast with Unleash Your Presence speaking expert, Julia Wonar. Remember to check out our podcast page to get all our episodes, preppedandpolished.com/podcast. Thank you for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.